49ers roster update. They have made their moves ahead of this game against the Seahawks, which will be down in Santa Clara tomorrow. We'll do this one from Treasure Island here in San Francisco. Not on the mainland. There's the city behind me. Beautiful day. We took the ferry out here, checked out the Gold Bar Distillery. 49ers people, 49ers whiskey. Check them out right behind me. Anyway, Nick McLeod, who the 49ers added to the practice squad the day after the special teams disaster in Tampa Bay. He's got 704 special team snaps. He has been elevated to the 53-man roster, temporary elevation for the game for San Francisco. And he replaces Darrell Luter Jr., who's headed to injured reserve with the pelvis injury. Luter, he was responsible for the muff punt. Couldn't get out of the way and then was blocked into Jacob Cowing. That was a terrible play. I've talked about it, and I'll tack on the video where I talk about how bad the 49ers special teams has been after this. The punt and the kick coverage, and then in that case, the punt return unit have been atrocious this year. The only way to go is up. They need more veteran guys. I know Darrell Luter Jr. is still a youngster, second-year cornerback. Nick McLeod might be able to give the 49ers an upgrade in that regard. They've also elevated the veteran safety to Sean Gibson Sr. Not sure if he's going to be good for special teams for San Francisco, but maybe they do feel that they need a little extra depth even in the secondary. With I know that Malik Mustafa was dealing with the calf issue last week. So Gibson, starting safety for the 49ers last week, has been elevated from the practice squad for this game. So Darrell Luter to IR opened up a spot on the 53-man roster for the 49ers, and so did Mitch Wishnowsky moving to injured reserve officially today. So the 49ers have made both of those moves, and with both of those openings, they now have room for Yetur Gross-Matos, officially activated from injured reserve. He had the knee injury. That's going to help the 49ers defensive line, I think, significantly, because Yetur can play both outside and inside. They had anticipated this happening. He's had 2 straight good weeks of practice. Yetur Gross-Matos is activated. And with the other 53-man roster spot opened up by Mitch Wishnowsky going to injured reserve with the back issue, Pat O'Donnell, the punter whom the 49ers added to replace Wishnowsky for a temporary period of time, he has now earned a full-time promotion to the 53-man roster. So O'Donnell is no longer just the practice squad guy. They didn't have to use a call-up for him. He's on the 53. Remember that O'Donnell began his career in Chicago holding for Robbie Gould. He got a text from Robbie Gould saying, hey, congratulations, I see you're with the Niners now. He now gets to hold for Jake Moody, which is a very important job. Moody obviously coming off of the rough game last week, which was his return from a high ankle sprain. And it just so turns out that Pat O'Donnell, the 49ers' new punter, who held for Robbie Gould, looks a lot like Jimmy Garoppolo, allegedly. That's what people are saying. And he'll probably never beat those allegations now that we know that Robbie Gould is coaching at Jimmy Garoppolo's former high school in the Chicago area, Rolling Meadows High School. So small world, Pat O'Donnell, new 49ers punter. He does take one of those 53-man roster spots along with Yetur Gross-Matos for San Francisco. Again, Gibson and Nick McLeod called up. No call-up and no activation for John Feliciano. His window practicing remains open. He's got 1 week left coming off the knee injury, but Feliciano's officially on injured reserve. And what that tells us is that Aaron Banks is likely healthy enough to start the game at left guard, even though he was on the injury report with a thigh issue, technically listed as questionable. All right, this is it, Treasure Island. We'll see you here very soon.
'49ers Seahawks preview. We've got to start with the special teams discussion. We're at Billy Goat Hill. Reminds me of Billy Goat curse, the Cubs curse, because the 49ers might have a special teams curse. You go back to 2011, Kyle Williams, 2012, the Ravens kickoff return in the Super Bowl. And then obviously, I don't think people want to talk about the 2023 season Super Bowl, but that came down to special teams as well. look how atrocious special teams coverage has been for the 49ers this year. You've got punt coverage and kick coverage. They're outliers in the way that you don't want to be an outlier. I mean, we talk about the Brock Purdy charts, especially from last season, but ever since he joined the league, he was in the upper right corner. This one is the polar opposite. This is the bottom left corner. So the reason I bring up special teams now is obviously because on the aggregate, the 49ers have top 5 offense and defense. We look at DVOA, but special teams is basically dead last. They're also playing a Seahawks team that has tormented them in special teams for years and years and years. And the reason that's super interesting is that the 49ers special teams coordinator, Brian Schneider, actually used to be the Seahawks special teams coordinator. And he coordinated some really, really good units for Seattle that lashed out some punishment in special teams on the 49ers. Think Richard Sherman, all those guys. Sherman had that block kick return for a touchdown. I think that was in 2013 against the 49ers. That was with Brian Schneider as Seattle's coordinator. Now he's San Francisco's special teams coordinator, and things aren't going nearly as well. So I do think that when you look at special teams issues, it is more of a team cultural thing. The 49ers focus so much on offense and defense, and with Kyle Shanahan, there just isn't as much focus on special teams as a team like the Detroit Lions, who are really good. Dan Campbell's their head coach. As a team like the Baltimore Ravens, John Harbaugh is their head coach. The Chargers, Jim Harbaugh is their head coach. The 2011 49ers, although that was the Kyle Williams year, they had a really good special teams unit that year, Jim Harbaugh, Brad Seeley. So much of this for the 49ers is about just not screwing it up on special teams. Just don't screw it up. Be mediocre. Can they attain mediocrity consistently? I don't think I'm asking too much, because if they can, that's when your top 5 offense and your top 10 defense is going to show out. That's all that you have to do if you're the 49ers. And you have to do it against the Seattle Seahawks team, whose only chance in this game is to neutralize the playing field via special teams. They almost did it back in October when Laviska Shenault had that long kick return for a touchdown. Remember, the 49ers were dominating everything in that game up until that point. It was another cautionary tale that special teams can ruin everything. So maybe Brian Schneider can hold this special teams advantage against his former team, the former team that used to terrorize the 49ers on special teams. Or maybe special teams is going to be the 49ers' Billy Goat curse. They sure hope that it won't end that way, because it was ugly last year when special teams derailed everything in the Super Bowl.